great book. There's a Harville Hendrix and Helen Hunt are these. They're older and they wrote these great books. The the Keeping the Love You Find and Finding the Love You Deserve. And it blew my
Mm.
mind when I read these books because they were saying that everybody is two different countries and we're all coming together. But if we don't do that first work of negotiating what holidays do we merge together, what language do we
Right.
speak, what's our mission statement, every relationship needs that. And we need a deal memo that needs to change every year because we're
Right.
different.
Yeah, we're different. We're different. And I think that's why relationships aren't working because
That's right.
we refuse to accept the fact that we are different years later, right? I was married for almost 20 years and I was not the same. That was, I'm 47 years old. And so at 27, what the hell did I know?
That's
Right? Not a lot of much, not a lot about anything. And, we, I was actually of the mind that, listen, I think marriages or relationships should start looking at 3 to 5 year contracts. Like, listen, in about 3 years, we need to settle up and
yes.
start looking at, do we still serve the relationship? Are you serving yourselves? Are we serving each other? And if not, it needs to be a very honest conversation, or it's probably time to move forward. Like,
That's
I'm cool with that. I think we should all just vote and just decide we're going to do that because when you don't, you're leaving hurt, resentment, and all the bullshit to pile up, and no one wants to address it until it's too late. And that's at the end of the day, that's why things I think are failing and not doing so well.
that's right.
But no one wants to do that work. You know what I mean? Or I didn't know to do the work at that
No
time.
one,
I didn't.
exactly. I think that's more fair. We don't know. I
Yeah,
had
we
a
didn't
friend I
know.
talked to today, and I had to have a talk with her and say, I was with her and her partner, and I was like, "You two suck right now," And I said it nicer than that, but I was like, "You have to look at that." Like, and but they don't want to break up for the kid. I was like, "You don't think that your kid knows right now that you two are miserable, and so you think
Oh,
it's better to teach them to be miserable to stay together? No, it'd be better not to even break up, but to just get honest with each other. We're always so willing to say the thing and talk the shit at the end, but
right.
throughout the entire thing, we have to have that level of sovereignty and trust.
There you go. There you
But
go.
otherwise, it's not going to survive. And that was scary to me because, especially with my last relationship, I managed him. Our children were all intermeshed. We were together for almost 10 years. And I just felt like I'd failed the world, but I
So
came into a
why?
relationship.
Why did you feel like you failed the world? This is your relationship. This is personal to you. You're a wife and a manager. Why did you feel like you had failed the world? What does the world have to do with this?
Because I didn't come in caring that Grace was here. I came in to do honor of this incredible human being who's a gift to the world. And so I come into every relationship wanting to grow. That's my favorite thing. Let's have a book
Right.
club. Let's start a business. I love that, but not everyone loves that. So
No.
I was on his ass to grow every second of every day. And if he
Right.
grew, what a gift to the world. I mean, I can take this, you'll learn. We can be here 9 years, so I can go far because music actually is a frequency of our heart. And
Yeah.
actually, it wasn't until we had a war, we had a dictator who actually realized that and worked to change our music from being a heart frequency because it was too abundant. And so there's still music in the heart
Mm.
that when we listen to it, it actually alters our heart's energy. So imagine if an artist of that caliber, understanding that level, and he had the foundation and all the things that I loved. But the things that I didn't love, I was going to fix. I was going to change. And I was going to quit.
Yeah.
It's not a
I was gonna, yeah,
relationship.
you're gonna make it better. And it could, I think we come in with this superhero complex, like I can fix it, I can change it, I can do it better, I can, manifest it differently. Girl, you can't do shit for, but for yourself, right? We can't change or manipulate anybody. And I think that, we do ourselves a disservice because we feel like we can. And so it
So
sounds like
hi.
that's what you went into it. Yeah, you're like, yeah,
I
right.
agree.
It's like if anybody can do it, if no one else can do it, I can. And it becomes like your mission. And I think maybe to your point, you feel like you failed the mission and you're like, oh shit,
Right.
mission over.
And then trapped. And
Yeah.
then because, yeah, it's I mean, I can go on and on about that, but
No, I know. And
It was
then,
also the last thing I want to say about that though, that
yeah,
relationship really helped me do what I'm doing now because people are brutal and people were so mean. Oh, his wife is ugly. He should have a better looking wife. She doesn't even do her hair. She's horrible. I was like 40 something at the time and they'd be like, she's 60, whatever it was. I was pregnant for 3 years straight in certain publications. But I immediately went into like, wow, people are that sad. People would rather don't even know me and they'd rather come for me than go inside.
vicious.
So that
Right.
made me realize like, oh, we still are getting the fire torches and going to burn the neighbor's house down as a community rather than looking in our own selves.
Right. And
So
fixing it at the source. I would have been devastated. I would have probably cried every day, like, I'm ugly again and they hate me again. And it takes nerves of steel, it takes bones of steel. I don't even know how you did that. That's why I was saying it's so much pressure. How did you, so did you start learning about finding joy in that relationship because you had to, or does that come much later?
when I was six, turning 17, my mother moved to Haiti, and I was now,
Mm,
and I lived in an apartment. I opened my own catering business. Life started.
right.
So I was really not in a good place then. I was scared. It was
And you're by
terrifying
yourself.
myself. So I was catering at this catering company, and I was also working for I had a private client. I was working like four jobs. I was working at Provisions, which is a health food restaurant in Sag Harbor, and I was going at 5 a.m. and making, they didn't call it vegan then, but making their healthier breakfast items. Then I would ride my bike 17 miles to this private client, this big director. I worked for his family, and I would
Mm,
work for them, and then I would leave and go work catering jobs. And I found this little bookstore, and I had a book, The Game of Life and How to, no, Queen Latifah's dancer, Kika, she gave me this book, The Game of Life and
mm,
How to Play It by France Scovel Shin. I think her name was Frances Scovel Shin. I got to find this book. Great book.
okay.
And it just was like about life. I read this book cover to cover. It really was the first time I was like, oh, I can make it. And then there was a bookstore in town, and I bought the second book called You Could Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. And I read those
Mm,
books, and it was the beginning of me realizing there's another way. And
right.
then I had a friend who at 17 who took a yoga class somewhere, and I learned that. And I started very baby steps trying to lean into healing and growing and going in.
Mm,
But as I said before, it was really, it was feeling good, but it was also like I started using it as this outside thing. Like in the music industry, I could justify a lot of dumbass shit that I even did because in that environment, I was like Mother Teresa because I was doing all these things and I was creating an environment and I wasn't out cooked up all night in a club. And not that everyone's
right.
doing that, but
No, no, no,
I
no.
had a
But
healthier balance with artists. I didn't feel like if artists weren't my friends, I was able to keep, and I have a lot of friends. Like I have still my first friend I ever made when I was two, Alicia, is still my friend. So I felt like I had a balanced life. But
mm,
then in Usher's huge world with problems I never could have imagined, and
right.
I kind of am a little weirdly naive about people. I really do see the best in everyone. I was raised Quaker, and that's a concept that
Mm,
light, everyone has an inner light. So I didn't have this concept until I was around, and I have really good friends. So
right.
if people really are out to get you and really, really wish you ill.
Oof.
I had no
Right.
idea that was really something outside of
A
like bad
thing.
reality shows, but it
Right.
was real. And so then I found myself at a moment where so much fucked up shit had happened all at once.
Oh.
And it was things were publicly being revealed that I was learning about with the public,
Mm,
so hurt and betrayed by all of that, seeing my own ridiculousness in it and how I had morphed into this human I didn't even recognize.
mm,
And at the end of the day, my 15-year-old daughter at the time said to me, I don't like what I'm watching. She said, you are amazing. I love you. I think you're so special, but I'm watching you, including my dad, who I love, but relationship after relationship, extinguish your light for others. And I was
mm.
embarrassed because I had everything together and I
Of
didn't want
course,
to,
I'm in the
you know,
celeb world. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But
my
she's like,
career. I
this
was
ain't.
running creative and marketing at record labels for years, which is how I met him. He brought, this artist in, he signed this teenage kid. And at the time I was feeling amazing on top of the world. I divorced my second husband. I was feeling alive, but I hadn't done enough work to really, really be growing. I really
Mm,
wasn't growing. I just was recycling, but I was masking this great insecurity and this deep fear with all this superficial stuff that I had started to learn. And I
yeah.
realized, oh, I'm not doing it. This is not for me.
This is not
I want
life. This is
to-
not
This is not my
getting you
life.
anywhere. Right. It's not
I want
getting
to
you anywhere.
inspire people. Right. I want to be a blessing. I've had such a blessed life. I want to bless others. And this is not
Mm,
from the platform from which I can do it.
right.
And so then was like, what is happiness and what is joy? And I realized happiness is this man-made construct. And it's different for everyone. And it's also can be superficial too. Whereas
Right.
joy is a spiritual concept.